Brian, your win against Tyson Marquez was the first time that you worked with Marvin Somodio. How was it like? And the first question is, why did you decide to work with Marvin?
How did I get hook up with Marvin? I was with Mario Morales.
Yeah.
For my last 3-4 fights, and my last fight, he had a hard time getting back into the United States because of visa problems.
He arrived like a day before, right?
Yeah. First of all, in that fight with was it Nino? Nino. It took him almost 24 hours to get from.
Mexico.
Was it 2 days? Like he traveled, I think, like 13 different countries to get to the Philippines.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Without traveling to the United States, right?
Yeah.
Because he couldn't go there.
He couldn't. I don't know. They made this itinerary for him, which was insane. And they were telling me step by step what country he was in and to see if he could make it out of that country, if he could go to a different country. So before then, Mario's visa expired, and he didn't let the team know that it was expired. So we were like, oh man, the fight's coming up soon, and why didn't you let us know earlier? Why do so it was just chaotic, and somehow they got him to go on a plane. His visa, some quick 2-week visa thing, whatever. I don't know what was going on, but he made it to Philippines like on the day of the fight. Or was it a day before?
A day before the fight.
I think we saw him the day before.
Because the fight was morning, he arrived at night.
I saw him around lunchtime.
Yeah, but he finally got to the Philippines, and I guess when he flew back to the States, his visa was expiring. He was having a hard time getting back to the U.S. They're trying to get his his credentials and all that in line before he gets in. So now fast forward to the fight. He was still in Mexico. I needed a trainer quick. And I'm like, we got a fight coming up.
Yeah.
That was supposed to take place in September, and it was already like July or August already. And I was like, fight's coming up soon. September 15 is a possible date. I was supposed to be on that Chavez card.
Yeah.
And so we needed to get a trainer real quick, and we're like, we need to. We went to the wild card, hooked up with Freddie, and Freddie's like, Marvin can work with you, So we did one day on the mitts with Marvin, and I totally fell in love with the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He knew he knew what he was doing, and I was like, "You're a guy, we're gonna work with you." And so Marvin cleared the schedule up, and then we started going to the walk card from then on, every day. And then the fights got postponed, and then it got postponed again. So through my training camp, Mario came back, but we already spent so much time with Marvin that we didn't want to just leave camp, that way. So we stuck it out with Marvin, and best decision. Fell in love with him.
Mark, you saw the fight. I mean, how did you rate Marvin's performance as a head trainer?
The only way I can compare is when I look back at how Marvin handled Manny, because that's the only time we actually saw him at that peak, at that level, training someone at that level.
Yeah.
And it was pretty obvious that Marvin did a good job. I mean, the guy is nervous going up that ring with him, right? Because it's
Brian was saying
coming from Baguio, and where he started from, right? He was pretty much just a regular kid in Baguio waiting for his time to shine. And then all of a sudden, you're with Brian Viloria in the States, wearing the Team Viloria shirt.
Yep.
It's going to be a tremendous chance for Marvin. And based on what you told me, the way he handled the mitts, the way he wrapped your hands, small details like that the kid knows what he's trying to do, and I think it reflected well on the fight.
Yeah.
How did you feel with
Marvin?
Marvin on your card?
I felt like I was in there with Freddie.
Really?
To be honest,
He was that good?
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, the way his demeanor was. I
Line
felt
of the day, man.
He picked up the nuances that Freddie had from wrapping the hands, from even the way he talked to you directly. It reminded me of Freddie. Freddie was, he worked with me, early in my career, and he would give you directions right on point, not having to yell at you or try to raise his voice to get that point across.
I don't think Marvin can raise his voice.
He's not capable of doing it.
But yeah, it's it was reminiscent of a young Freddie Roach,
Wow.
and I mean it tells you a
Boing!
lot, and I mean he's being trained under him.
Uh-huh.
Freddie took him under his wing and showed him all these little tricks and tips that trainers are supposed to do, and so when they were training me the wall card. Mario was also reporting back to Freddie, saying, all right, this is how Brian's looking, blah, blah. And so he will get instructions from Freddie also. So it was kind of like, working with both of them at the same time. And but Marvin, I call him the human sponge. Freddie showed him one time how to wrap a hands down, give him a gauze, and he did exactly.
Yep.
He was told. And so, Marvin's a young guy, but has the mind already, mentality of a seasoned veteran, and for that I also have this camaraderie with him, and he's from Ilocos, and we were speaking Ilocano the whole time, and Ruben was there listening to us like, what the, like what's going on here, so we would always joke around, speaking Ilocano and talking to each other and cracking jokes, and so we developed that friendship early on already, and I trusted him, and so I trusted him when Ruben gave him the reins to the fight, and took it to roll with it. He told me he was nervous, the day of, the day before. He said the heart was going like 200 miles an hour, and he said he couldn't eat, he couldn't he couldn't do anything, and that night he couldn't sleep, and so it was like he hit it well though. That's the thing about Mark. He told me how nervous he was and how scared, but then when he was there, he was like, no problem, so focused, and he was in the ring. He's like, Brian, you're doing good, don't worry, keep going to the body. I'm like, wow. Okay. And so right, his demeanor, his calm demeanor, it was infectious.
Yeah.
And so you were calm yourself because he was calm. You could have been like losing the fight. You could have been losing the fight, and he's so calm, and you wouldn't panic because you would go back and be like, oh, everything should be okay, I guess. He's not panicking. So he gave me that type of vibe, and and so in the fight you could see I was calm. We were talking to each other. I even got to the point where like, hey Marvin, I hurt him to the body. Like, yeah, you did. Keep going down. So we were having that conversation.
I've never heard
conversing that
these
way.
conversations said
not in the corner during the fight. No, you did.
Of a
you
unification
did well.
fight.
I did well. Keep it up. All right.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah, man.
But no, he knew what the game plan was. I mean, when you work with each other for 3-4 months, you already know what the game plan is.
Yeah.
And so there's no need for you to get specific instructions. Like, oh yeah, I need you to do that and receive a million instructions when you already know what's going on. You know what you prepared to do. So they were the corner just there to remind you to do certain things that you need to do to win the fight. And so Marvin was there saying those things. He made the right. He said the right things. He said it the right way. Wasn't panic. I mean, when we watched the video, Robert's corner was just like like, oh, he's yelling, blah blah, screaming at you. I'm like, wow, you're a fighter and you're getting bombarded. You're almost fighting two fronts. You got the real fight, and then you go back to your corner, and then you're being yelled at and getting scared. You're just like so much chaos going at the same time, and it was really nice to go back to the corner and having Marvin there. Just talk to you. I mean, and Ruben, and Ruben and Frankie there, just talking to you normally and be like, "You're doing a great job, Ryan. Keep doing what you're doing."
Last question: do you see yourself being trained by Marvin in the long run?
I can see myself training Marvin. Yeah, of course. I mean, we've had a great chemistry, great fit. Marvin's still, that young coach that's coming out. He's just, came on the scene virtually out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And he's got Manny to take care of now, come and fight with Marquez. And so, Philippines, you guys got yourselves a great coach in the next future. I mean, next 10,
That's
15,
big.
20 years from now.
Marvin, pressure.
We
Pressure.
got so much great fighters. We got great coaches. I mean, but for someone like Freddie to take him under his wing, to take Marvin under his wing, and to show him his complete knowledge of boxing and his absolute knowledge of boxing, and I mean, and Marvin's a young guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's the type of trainer that's going to be around for a long time.
I think it was really 2 victories won that day. One was for Brian Villar to unify the titles. The second one was for Marvin and for breaking Robert Garcia's winning streak. Marvin, you the man.
Pressure's on you now.
Like Freddie said, trainer of the year.
Yeah.
Trainer of the year.
Trainer of the year.